Okay, so the last Grandpa Clone Customs drop was a bit mellow, as in we didn't really get a whole lot of exciting things to talk about. I say this term over and over again, but I felt like it was more of a service update of products rather than it being a full-on flagship release. Don't get me wrong, drops like this have to happen. Not every release can be a major thing, and oftentimes I feel like it can be a fatigue for fans who collect a lot of GCC figures. My videos tend to cater towards those of you who want a deeper search into information about customs. I try not to rush things or sensationalize them. However, out of the last couple of waves we've gotten from GCC, this has to be the best wave so far, topping back when we covered Thorn and the newly released airborne units from the Swamp and Shock clone forces. This wave is particularly special because I'll be having on another voice, the designer of the newly released 327th BARC Trooper Kaminoan Customs. I'll actually have him take over for this part of the video, and then we'll get straight back on track and get to the rest of the wave.
Hey, Kevin from Kaminoan Customs here, and today I'll be answering some questions about my latest and first project with GCC, the 327th BARC Trooper. Alright, so although I'm pretty new to the LEGO custom scene, I've been doing Black Series as well as Hot Toys customs for about 4 years now, so I have a little bit of experience with customizing. I wouldn't say it transfers over one-to-one from Hot Toys and Black Series to LEGO, but definitely the principles are the same. My favorite design element from the BARC Trooper is definitely the unique abdomen design they have. The abdomen itself comes mostly from the Kashyyyk Scout Trooper, however it's slightly different. As I was looking for references when creating it, I initially wanted to just take the old Kashyyyk Scout Trooper torso and put it on top of a clone torso, which would be pretty simple, but as I was looking at it, I realized that the style of the torso from the old Kashyyyk Scout is definitely a little bit outdated, and I wanted to retouch to give it a modern 2020 flair. That involved things like rounding out some of the hard edges on the pouches and adding some additional folds and details to really bring out that 2020 style and the modern LEGO design. As I was working on this figure, I did notice when I was doing it that LEGO seemingly accidentally used the design for the Imperial Scout Trooper hit boxes instead of the clone boxes, so I had a fun time taking a look at some behind-the-scenes Revenge of the Sith images to ensure that the hip pouches on this trooper were accurate. It'll be interesting to see if LEGO does end up redoing their Scout Trooper if they do a similar design. Working with GCC was awesome. I pretty much had free reign over how I wanted to do the design, but also had a ton of options for input from members of the community and from Yosha on how to actually tackle this project. I never felt like I was constrained or limited, or that I couldn't do things the way I wanted to. Really, all the decisions were up to me, and I had a great time doing it. I do have a few projects currently in the queue with GCC right now that I can't wait to see officially created and revealed. If you want to stay up to date with the latest news regarding GCC and my future projects with them, I highly recommend checking out the GCC Discord to stay up to date on all future news and releases.
The 501st Umbara Error animation helmet is one of the more obscure products produced by GCC. It had its first debut about a year or so back, and it's finally been restocked. If you didn't know what makes this helmet special already, it's because it's referencing an animation error where the helmet visor was rendered without the face stripe on the lower part of the helmet and instead cuts off at the forehead. The LEGO version of the helmet best illustrates this change. I'm not usually one to get hyped up about helmet replacers, but I really do like that this product exists because it adds some variation to the 501st Legion. While this was originally an error by Lucasfilms, then illustrated in LEGO form, I think that it isn't totally off of the aesthetic. Clones in the 501st Legion could have markings like this easily written into the lore. Named clones like Kix have variations in this helmet stripe. While not totally removed, it is thinner than standard grunts and other named clones. The Pearl Dark Grey Elite Trooper is by far one of the top-selling figures from this wave, and it sold out pretty shortly upon the release on Tom the Builder's store, as well as on the main GCC site. I'm not exactly sure where the demand came from, because it wasn't exactly a well-anticipated figure because of any new media surrounding it. The Bad Batch has been out for a decent while now, and I think the demand for figures from the series has largely dropped off. That isn't to say that I didn't personally anticipate it to not be a high-demand figure, because it's just so technically impressive. GCC matched this figure up with Pearl Dark Grey replica helmets on an official body and legs, alongside a very impressive shimmer pad ink on the visor. I talked about this in a previous video, and I'm glad that GCC is starting to make the shimmer ink a more regularly occurring design feature. I set up two of my Elite Squad troopers with standard grunt helmets, and the other two with GCC's BARC Trooper visor, which is just a great feature for a figure like this. The last figure up is the 442nd Grunt Trooper Renewal. The previous version had some minor template errors alongside the lack of arm printing. Back when GCC first released this figure, most grunts did not have arm printing. It only started to become standard about 3 or 4 waves ago after the wave with the 91st Troopers that they released. Either way, the figure is a great design done by Melnick Edits. The back print is the most noticeable change as he worked on retaining a more detail-driven 442nd closer to the actual reference material rather than assuming the design of the standard back gear on most of the other grunts. The infill detail on the center is really cool and will probably go underappreciated since it is a detail that you can only really see on the back. If you own any 442nd Airbornes, they're a nice trooper to display alongside the grunts. Well, that covers everything in the late February wave from Grandpa Clone Customs. I'd like to thank Yoshan of GCC for sending these out to me for review, and Kevin of Kaminoan Customs for appearing in this week's review. If you like these figures, you can purchase them from Tom the Builder or Bricks and Figs DE. Use my code BrickFleet for a small discount on your order. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one.